Here's a question almost every law school applicant has but doesn't ask out loud. Does being a minority still help you get into law school? And if you're white or Asian, does it hurt you? The Supreme Court banned race in admissions about 3 years ago now, so a lot of people figure the boost is dead and it's all just grades and LSAT now, but it's not that simple. And the real answer is actually more interesting than either side will tell you. There is a boost, does still exist, but it's about half the size it used to be. It's mostly at the top law schools specifically. And here's the part that might surprise you. Even with the boost cut in half, minority enrollment did not crash. It actually went up. And today I'm going to explain how that's possible, because once you get it, you're going to understand the game a whole lot better. Now let's start with the proof, because there is actually real data on this. A professor at UCLA named Richard Sander pulled the numbers on the top law schools from 2021 through 2025. He measured how big the advantage was for Black applicants before the ban and then after the ban. After the ban, the advantage dropped by about half. For Hispanic applicants, it dropped even more, so much that at some schools you can't even prove it's still there. So the top schools didn't stop, they just turned the dial down a bit. They made the boost smaller and quieter so it's harder to see. But here is the twist that most people miss. Even though the boost shrank, the students who lost their edge at the very top didn't vanish, they just got into other strong schools instead. So across the country, minority enrollment actually rose. The people moved around, in other words, they didn't disappear. So the boost is real, but it's smaller, and nobody got locked out of law school, they just landed in different spots. Now let's talk about how this plays out at two big law schools, because the difference is important. Let's look at Harvard Law School, for example. The first class they admitted after the ban had 19 Black students. The year before, it had 43 Black students. Hispanic student numbers dropped from 63 down to 32. So that's a significant change, of course, dropping by half. At Yale Law, same deal, but different outcome. 12% Black, 13% Hispanic, barely moved from before the ban. So one school's numbers crashed, the others didn't budge at all. One of them stopped giving a boost, the other found a way to keep it. So how do you keep a race boost when race is banned? You use a workaround. And this week, the government proved exactly how that workaround works, because there was a dean who was dumb enough to explain it to a reporter. Yesterday, the Justice Department went after UC Davis Medical School. Not for using race, but for using the thing that schools switched to instead. Davis built a scoring system that ranked every applicant on how disadvantaged they were, based on their family income, whether their parents went to college, whether they grew up in a poor area. Then the school changed how much your grades and test scores counted based on that score. And of course, none of that is race directly, but it lines up with race. That is the whole point, of course. And the dean of admissions said so directly out loud to a reporter. His exact words were, quote, "Class struggles have a huge overlap with race. That's how we skirted the issue." So he's saying right there, that's how we skirted the issue. He thought he was being smart. I'm not so sure, because the government just used that one sentence as proof that the school deliberately broke the law. And of course, Davis is a medical school, but it will impact all of higher education, because the workaround of looking at the whole person, weighing their background and what they overcame, law schools run that also. They call it holistic review. Looking at your zip code, whether you're the first in your family to go to college, your hardship story, all of it feeds in. And of course, it's not a literal scoring scale like what Davis did, but it's the same family aimed at the same goal. And the government's approach here is simple. If you build a race-neutral system on purpose to get a race-based result, being neutral on paper isn't going to save you. They're going after what you meant to do. And the dean who's bragging about skirting the Supreme Court ban makes that pretty easy. 3 weeks ago, the government found that Yale Medical School broke the law, and the number there was wild. A Black applicant had 29 times the odds of getting an interview as an Asian applicant with the same test scores. Before Yale, it was on UCLA. Then on June 4th, the government opened 15 new med school investigations all at once. Then yesterday there was Davis. Now, med schools are just where they started, because the data there is clean and pretty easy to measure, but law schools are next up, and they're more exposed than they think. The Supreme Court ruling covered all of higher education, not just doctors, and the group that won that case has said they are not done. And law schools publish more public data about their admissions than almost everybody because the reports the American Bar Association forces them to file every single year. The numbers are sitting there waiting to be analyzed. Somebody has to run them, and people are going to. Now, there's one more thing the news won't tell you, and you need to know this. This is not settled. A lot of lawyers think the government is overreaching. They say the Supreme Court banned using race, but never banned looking at poverty or background, even when those line up with race. And Davis is fighting back. These cases are, of course, headed to court, and nobody knows who's going to win. So you're not applying into a world where the boost is dead for sure. You're applying into the middle of a fight that is still going, and that's actually harder to plan around because the rules could flip in the middle of your cycle, which is the whole reason you want to build an application that wins no matter who and how it ends. So here's what you actually want to do, and it depends on who you are. If you're Black, Hispanic, Native American, your story still matters, but it doesn't live in a checkbox on a form anymore. It lives in your essay, in your own words, because that's the only place the school can legally learn it. The catch is, you've got to tell it right. And the Supreme Court told you what to do. The Chief Justice said a school can care about how your background shaped you, but only when it's tied to something real about you, your character, a skill, something you can do. So in plain terms, here's what you do. A weak essay would say, my background was hard, and it made me who I am. That's vague, it's lacking detail, anybody could have written that. A stronger essay tells one specific story, a moment, a thing you did, a problem you handled, and it shows what it proves about you. That you fight for people, that you don't quit, that you stay steady when things fall apart. And you want to tie that to the lawyer you're going to be, never to the label alone. And you're not trying to trick the system or game it necessarily. You want an essay that's true and lands. You don't want to feel like you reverse engineered hardship just to get points. They've seen a million fake stories and they can smell them. Now, if you're white or you're Asian, I want you to take a breath. Yes, the boost for other students is real, but remember two things. First, it shrank by half, and the students who got it weren't taking your seat at every school because when the edge got smaller, everybody just spread out across more programs. The gap is smaller than it's been in decades. You are not doomed, and the data backs that up. But you can't coast on your numbers alone either. Your move is the specifics. You want to share with the school why them specifically. What do you actually want to do with the degree? You want real proof that you mean it, not just saying, I've always wanted to be a lawyer or I love to argue. And of course, there are a few things that are true for everybody. Your LSAT and your GPA matter more now, not less, because when a school gets accused of cheating with the soft stuff like the essays, they defend themselves by leaning on the hard numbers. The scores you need went up again this year. Some schools raised their LSAT median 2 or 3 points in a single year. The school that made you safe last year might make you a long shot this year. So if you fix one thing only, fix your LSAT score. That's what they look at hardest, and it's what you control the most. Then, of course, your essay is the other battleground, and now you know why. It's the only place your real story can legally show up, so it's the part they read the closest. Don't write it last. Don't fake a hardship that you didn't actually experience. Write something true and something specific. Now, I also want you to rebuild your school list from zero because last year's safe schools could be this year's reaches, given that the medians are always going up. And Yale and Harvard proved you can't guess a school's behavior from its rank alone. You also want to go after scholarship money more than ever because law school now runs about $82,000 a year, and the government just capped loans at $50,000 a year, leaving a $32,000 gap every year that applications can help you fill if your numbers are strong. If you move early, if you lock in your score, if you start your essays now, if you apply early in the cycle, you're going to have an advantage. And if you want my help getting that LSAT score up, getting into better law schools, getting more scholarship money, I'm happy to help you out. I'm offering free LSAT tutoring for everybody watching this now or later. You can book that free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. The link is below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG.